Hello everyone. Today we're going to continue with this portion of Java that we had learned earlier, and we are going to discuss first about this topic called overloading and overriding. One of the questions that came up during the doubt clearing session held previously was what is the difference between them? So overloading in Java, I had explained it earlier, but for a time being we'll compare these two. So let us take the help of a C++ program where I had explained this earlier also. So we'll look into this program right now and we'll try to understand what is the difference. So we'll look into this program for overloading first. So if you look over here, overloading is a case where you have a function with two different signatures. Functions which have the same name but the arguments are different. When I talk about signature, I basically refer to the arguments. So here if you look over here, print is defined over here as a function and you have an argument in the form of int I. You have another function print defined over here that is having an argument double F. You have another print function which has a character being received. So, and when you look at this particular program, int main, it is calling here to execute these functions. So when you look over here, this is a normal C++ program. So it is a function that is being called without the object. And when you run this particular program, you can see that it execute or it will display the integer 10, the float value 10, and this particular string 10. Now, if you look over here, there is no confusion over here as to which print is being called. It is depending on the argument. So this is a print 10. So it means this value passed here is 10. So it is not definitely going to call this print or this one. It is going to call this one. Now print 10.10 10. It is a double value or a float value. So here it is going to access this function and not these two. So I hope that point is clear with respect to overloading. Now, basically overloading basically refers to the fact that an entity takes having the same name can execute multiple functions. I hope that point is clear. And function here has the same name, but it is going to execute different functions based on how it is defined, and it depends on the signature or the argument. So that is with the overloading thing. Now here you have the overriding concept. Now override in English, what it is like overtake, the common term that we use when we have two vehicles going in a straight line and another one comes in front of it, like an overtaking process. Overriding can be considered in a similar way, not in exact manner but an analogous to it. So basically one is supposed to run but another one overtakes it. I hope you are getting the concept. So here you have this particular so here in comparison with overloading, overriding is applicable in a situation where there is inheritance. If you look at this program, you have the IOString function, the header file. Then you have a class over here, living beings. It has got a function called leave. Now, it displays a statement leaves on earth, and you have another class inheriting from it, which is called humans. Again, this has got a leave function, and it is going to display leaves in home. I hope the concept is clear. In comparison with overloading and overriding, one can note the difference that here the function name is same, but the arguments are different. Here, the function name as well as the arguments are same. So the confusion comes which leave will work when it is being called by an object. For example, you have an object of the derived class over here. Now, if you have the object of the derived class, it is not going to run this, but it is going to run the function of the derived class. So I hope that point is clear. You can access this PPT, run the program in your compiler and see the difference. So I hope that point is clear with respect to overloading and overriding. To move into the theoretical aspect, we can look at this slide. So in overloading, what would happen is it is an example of compile time polymorphism. That means at compilation time itself, it will be deciding whether it is print I or printf or print string. It will be deciding it at the compile time itself. But when you have a overriding, it is an example of a runtime polymorphism. That means when you compile it, there won't be any issues because an object is there. It can have a function leave. It is available in both the classes or it is present in the program. So that is all that the compiler is going to check. But what function should be called, it will be decided when the program is running. That is why this is an example of runtime polymorphism. Now, the call of the function is resolved at compile time and call of the function is resolved at the runtime. This is an example of a static polymorphism and this is an example of a dynamic polymorphism. So function overloading can be compared or can be equated to this statement. When there are multiple functions with same name and different parameters, then these functions are said to be overloaded. Functions can be overloaded by changing number or type of arguments. Function overriding occurs when a derived class has a definition for one of the member functions of the base class. Like I said, leave is a function that exists in both base as well as derived class. Then the base function will be said to be overridden when the derived class function runs. I hope that concept is clear regarding overloading and overriding. You can access these programs for running and learning about it. So when we talk about Java, we have already stated that your function can be treated as equivalent to method over here. So this basically over here is method overloading. Now here the methods have the same name but different. So we have already dealt with the method overloading. So I'll just revise this particular topic. So you have the room and you have the constructors over here of two different arguments which will be used to compute area, and you can see that this program runs. This has been already explained in the previous session. Now when we talk about overriding, it has already been explained, so you can refer this particular slide for the theoretical aspect. Now let us move into this program. So you have a particular program over here. You have a class animal which has got a move function, and a dog extends to animal, which means dog is inheriting from animal, and again this has got a move function and it is going to display animals can move and dogs can walk and run in the respective move functions. So you have a class called test dog and you have these following set of constructors that are running to run this particular program, to create objects, and will use the objects to run the respective move functions. So we are taking a look at this program once again. So animal class is there. It has got a move function where it can display animals can move. You have a dog class inheriting from animal. It again has a move function where it can display dogs can walk and run. So then you have this class called test dog where you have the main function. And please remember this particular statement that we're discussing about right now. You're having a object being created over here, that is animal A equal to new animal. So here we have to consider two things that will be given by this particular PPT. So we already took a look at the program, and now let's do a learning about this particular object creating statement. So when I have a statement like animal A is equal to new animal, you can see that this basically has a declaration part where you have a variable name with the object type. So the object type is animal and the variable name is A. The new keyword is to create the object, and the job of this last constructor is to provide an reference to the method, or it is basically a constructor. You can see that animal bracket is given, which means it is a function. Now when you have the function with the same name as that of the class, then it is definitely a constructor. So basically the role of this statement is to give a constructor call or for an object or method reference. So basically if you look over here, we can see that when you have a statement like animal A equal to new animal, the object type is animal, but the method reference is for the animal class or the animal constructor. So when we take a look at that particular program, You can see that this particular statement runs over here, and when you execute this particular statement or the program, you can see that the animal can move has been printed, which means because of this constructor reference or the method reference, the method move in this class called the animal has run. Animals can move. So let us take a look. Let us reverse this particular thing and see these 4 different options. So I give a statement over here like dog. So what happens over here? The object type is animal, but the constructor or the method call is pointing to the class called dog. So which should execute the move function of this dog class. So when you execute this particular program, see it has displayed dogs can walk and run. So we are going to print it over here. So it has displayed dogs can run and walk. Let's go to the next possibility. That means this is dog and this becomes animal. When we try to execute it, it will not run because of the inheritance. Now, a dog class, a derived class object cannot call the constructor of a or the method of the base class. This is all that we had been learning about the inheritance schemes that we had been learning in C++ and Java, and this doesn't work. So we can write as not an option, and the last option we'll look into dog itself. So what do you think will run ideally? It should run the method of the dog class. So we execute it and we can see that it runs the same thing. Dogs can run and walk. So I hope you got a concept of method overriding with this particular set of programs. This is something that we had already dealt with in the 3rd module, and if you remember the notes and the videos that I had given to you, this was explained with the help of pointers about this particular runtime polymorphism, and all we had explained it with respect to pointers in module 3 and in that corresponding video. So you can have a look at that also to get an idea about method overriding. You can try running this program also. This will be there in the PPT. Basically, it has got a constructor also set over here, so you can see how it functions and how it runs. So the ideology is almost the same, and you can see how it works in that particular concept.